Hi, Kathy. Welcome to the Wire Life podcast. We're so excited to have you. Looking forward to hearing a little bit about your journey and how you guys started into real estate investing.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be with you today. So exciting.
So tell us a little bit about, how did you get into this industry? Were you doing something else before? Just anything you want to share a little bit about your background and how you made that jump into this.
Okay, sure. So I am a licensed marriage and family therapist by trade. I've owned wellness clinics. I've had private practices, and I had come through a pretty tough divorce. And my husband at the time had gotten into prescription drug addiction. He was a doctor, and I just really spiraled downhill. And so when I started over, he had bankrupted all of our college accounts, business accounts, everything. And so I started over a brand new business in the medical field because I started business consulting for doctors because I knew how to build private practices. The difference about that is you can't really scale that if I wasn't consulting direct with the doctor, even though I had a team. I was scaling other things and the business grew rapidly. The Lord just really jumped in, took over. And that put me and my family back on a financial map. But then I decided, I'm like, okay, I was like, okay, I want to build a company that has something that I can pass on to my kids. So I have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. They were all in high school, private school at the time. We're going into college. And I was in that mix of, even though I had launched a business and I had put cash on the table very quickly and grew that super fast, when we were recovering financially from the fallout of that, I wanted to get involved in something that you could scale and that gave me passive income. And so decided I would learn about real estate. I started reading about it. This is in the end of 2019. In the beginning of 2020, I launched my LLC and COVID hit. And so, but that's when I started. And so I've been in it a little, right about a year and going on 2 years in next April. So.
Very nice. How exciting. And what a huge change. From healthcare, kind of similar to myself as well. Welcome. So now tell me a little bit about what in real estate exactly are you doing? There's so many things that you could do, right?
Yeah.
What did you decide to go for?
You know what? So I naturally started out, I already had a couple of businesses and I was not wanting to chunk in too much money into this initially. And so I obviously started out wholesaling for me. It was just kind of getting my feet wet, learning the process of really buying homes. And then, and I did really well. So I wholesaled a lot of properties in this first 12 months. I started in April. And when I say I started in April of 2020, that means I was just kind of learning, getting my feet wet. My LLC was finished. I started, doing my first calling, evaluating properties, etc. And I just started buying. Then right now, currently, rentals, looking at some buy and hold. I'm right now in the midst of looking at some property down in Galveston for developing an RV park. It's about 32 acres. And so it's just quickly evolved. I still wholesale quite a few properties because I now have a team running some, calling, texting, those sort of things. And so we get properties that I obviously don't want, or especially land. And I'm not doing new builds or anything like that. And so I can wholesale quite a bit of that.
Very nice. So what's your area? What area are you concentrated on?
I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so I'm pretty well anything within, 50-mile radius of the central hub of DFW. I have wholesaled down into Houston and other places like that. I have not launched where I'm doing rentals or buying and holding there. But I'm also looking at opening up another market. DFW is very saturated, and we've still done really well, but I'd like to open up another market on the wholesaling side. And I'm looking at Oklahoma City.
All right, very nice. Thanks for sharing that with us. And so what's your current marketing strategies to get these properties?
Well, for right now, we are calling and texting. And one of the things I did do right from the beginning is networking. So I get a lot of referrals for properties. I think five we closed. I did 5 in December, and people always want to talk about December being whatever, but we don't take the pedal off the first 2 weeks. I work really hard the first 2 weeks, and I do take off. I took off last week, and I'm pretty well off this week. So, but what you're doing in the first 2 weeks of December wasn't December's work. It was October's. And so cold calling, texting, a lot of networking. I have a lot of great buyers, and I have a lot of great connections.
Beautiful. Well said. So what systems are you using now for you, your team, that you would recommend that are working for you guys?
So I use Batch, Batch Leads, Batch Dialer, and I've used others. I've used Mojo and Zengal. We bounced over to Batch. I like the integration there a little bit better. Our CRM currently is REIBB, but I'm switching over to Podio, and I'm having a whole CRM built out specific for my KPIs and stats. Working with a lady out of Ohio right now for some mentorship, and really she's all about how do you really take a business and scale it. And she's built a monster of a machine. And so I really need help on the scalability and the measuring. Like I do know from coaching, because I do a lot of business coaching, a lot of women's coaching, and a lot of business consulting. And so I know if we're not measuring, what we measure grows, and what we don't measure usually stays stale. And so I'm trying to really niche down my stats, and she's going to be helping me with that.
Very nice. I'll actually, after our call, I'll send you some information that I'm also looking to track the KPIs on my Podio. So I'll send you something I found out, and maybe that's useful. We share valuable information here and there.
Yeah.
Right. Perfect. So you mentioned you have a team. So what does that team look like right now? Is it like a one-woman team, or do you have more people, or what are we talking about?
So I have a follow-up specialist, which a lot of people would, we call it a follow-up specialist. So a person who's calling all day long, and then a VA who also does calling. And then I have a sales acquisition lead person who the pass offs will go to him. And he will kind of gain all the additional information, run the comps, etc., negotiate numbers, maybe schedule to see the properties, things like that.
Okay, very nice.
There's me, and I have an agent or two that work closely with. So.
Okay, nice. And have you, any of those wholesale deals, have you kept for yourself to do like a fix and flip and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've flipped. I'm sorry. I guess I didn't even say that. I've currently.
I could have forgotten.
Yes, we have fixed and flipped, and so I kind of handpick what I want to fix and flip. My numbers are obviously tighter than probably most people who are buying. I have definitely scaled down my profit margin minimums right now, and just looking at volume. And so, yes, I'm fixing and flipping also.
All right, very nice. And how do you typically fund your fix and flip? Is it just out of pocket, private, or hard money?
No, all private money.
All right, very nice. Good stuff. How do you keep, okay, because it sounds like you have a lot, you're like a superwoman, right? So how do you keep yourself accountable when you're having all these things, or how do you keep yourself growing, like just mentally, emotionally, and just focused, on what you're doing?
So I probably do a ton of coaching about this. So prior to real estate, you heard me say I'm a marriage and I'm a therapist. I'm licensed in several different things, but I do a lot of coaching, women's coaching, dating coaching, business coaching. And so for me, it's a solid morning routine. I'm probably very disciplined, but I also do really good self-care, which a lot of women don't. So I'm going to be working out every day, and I'm going to do things like Pilates or cycle. I think, and I'm brain health certified. So there's a whole lot of brain health and wiring and physical health that come into the mental health. And so and for me, it's everybody should have some sort of morning routine that they're doing, a very daily discipline. I can tell you in an instant if my self-care is dropped, because I can tell my mood's different. And I do a lot of state changing things throughout the day. My team plays music. I am very big proponent of music. Changing your dynamic during the day, moving your body is probably, and what you put in it. So I'm really picky about that. I do a lot of nutritional coaching, stuff like that. So I just apply those things. That's how I keep going. And I'm probably definitely a red on the color code and your Enneagrams. I mean, so I've always been a driver personality. So,
all right.
but I want to think it's motivation. Really, it's really not being motivated. It's being disciplined. It's there's things I am not motivated at all to do, but I just do them. Like it's just
you have to do, get it done.
Yeah.
Nice. I love your drive and your energy. It's contagious. I hope people can feel it when they hear it, and those who get to watch the video, they could really see how it's contagious. I'm telling you. So if you had to pick one superpower out of all these great stuff that you already do, what would it be?
I think probably my superpower would be just consistent resolve. Like there's not a hey, that's not going to work. It's like, how do I make that work? And I think it's asking right questions all the time. I do think God's given me a grace to I am big vision, so I can see things. Like like whenever I first started real estate, I didn't know a thing, but I saw $1 million company. Whenever I was single and my husband had bankrupted everything, I saw us taking vacations. I would say probably is discipline resolve. Like it's not going to, I mean, if it worked for her, it can work for me. If it works for me, it can work for you. And I've just looked at them like, how it's not, I can't do that. It's how can I do that? I mean, how can we make that happen?
I love it. Your thoughts, I concur with that. They manifest your reality and therefore your future, right? We're co-creators. Absolutely. I love it. So aside from all the sports that you do, is that mainly kind of like what you do for fun or on a personal level?
So I mean, yes. So I work out because I love it. I've always done it. I was an athlete in high school and college. And I think, we were talking about mindset. So when I'm coaching people, I'm like, people will ask me, how do you stay motivated? It's not about motivation in my mind. Now I'm 50 years old. But in my mind, I'm an athlete. And so I am only acting out what I bought into. Like we're selling ourselves a sales pitch every day. You just really have to look at what sales pitch are you selling yourself. I'm overwhelmed or I'm resourceful. I'm drowning or I'm capable. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So working out, I love. My husband and I take dance lessons. We are enjoying that. I choose really intentional about probably moving my body and intentionally creating moments. Right now, it's funny you asked that because I don't do Pilates. I've never done Pilates, or solid core. But I just last night was like, okay, I'm going to shake it up a bit. What do I want to do in 2022 differently? What is my first quarter going to look like? But I don't do that just on just my business. I look at all the facets. I look at money, my mental health, my mindset, movement. I have a lot of M's, my mission. And I look at each one of them and like, okay, what do I want that to look like right now? And what do I want it to look like in 3 months or in 6 or a year? And so I'm going to join Pilates because I want something different. And I also like the meditative part of those kind of things where you can move your body, but you can also have time to think. I do love cycle. I think there's so much about brain health and moving your body at a high intensity, and it can really change the dynamic for anxiety or depression or that lull in mood, that sugar crash that we get or things like that.
Absolutely. So I know this is out of the blue, but it kind of tails along what you just finished saying. So do you have a vision board for your 2022 or are you always running with your thoughts already? Or do you have to make one?
I love vision boards. And the reason why I love them is for me. So I'm very, probably a little OCD on the checklist. And so I obviously where there is no vision, people perish, right? We know that's a biblical principle. My faith is so interweaved in all of my life. I've been a Christian since I was a young girl. I've been in full-time ministry. My husband is an evangelist. We travel all over the world. We planted 60-something churches in Africa. So my faith is interwoven in everything. And so it's not for me, manifesting has become a secular term, but that's a biblical principle from a long time. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he, etc. And so I do have a vision board. I love it because I can look back at the first one I did, and I've saved them, and I would recommend you do this. It's kind of like a testimony to what the Lord does for me. And like the very first vision board I ever did, I had everything on it but one thing within 12 months. And I recognize the power of the visual. And this is an interesting point for anyone that's watching. The brain does not know the difference from a real picture and like a photo. So what's ever before you all day long, what you see every day becomes. And so having a vision board is a huge deal. I have not finalized or finished my vision board for 2022. My husband and I do some coaching together with couples that are entrepreneurs. And so we get together and do ours and kind of set our whole things. We do that it's interesting. I've done it on New Year's Eve night for years instead of doing the thing. He really is a New Year's Eve person. So we now bump it the day before, where we kind of sit down and just have a vision. What is the vision of our next year as a married couple, as our businesses, for our family? What are those? And then we kind of create that together.
Sounds beautiful. So I'm dying to know what good books you would recommend, because you sound like you're a wealth of knowledge already. So I'm sure you have references.
There's always the first basics. Like if you want to talk from a business mindset, I've read Think and Grow Rich, I don't know how many times, The Power of a Positive Thinking, but Success Principles by Jack Canfield has been one that I am going to start hosting a women's business, just entrepreneurs. They don't have to be in real estate. And I'm going to take them through success principles, because there's a lot of biblical principles in business when I do business coaching that I utilize. But that book is really great on just what are success principles that 100% work. All you have to do is apply them. And then I do a lot of reading of Andrew Womack. If you've never read Andrew Womack, super strong Christian, but he does a ton of writing on not limiting God and mindset and spiritual thinking. So
I'm going to look into it. I have not read him. Nice. All right. So what challenge do you want to leave the audience with for the next 2 weeks until our next episode comes on?
You know what? I saw that when I was reading about that, or I was thinking about that with some other things. I think the biggest thing is to really be brave. And don't limit yourself. Also, no comparison. So for the next 2 weeks, I would really start digging in. If you had to begin, we really have to develop ourselves, like this belief in ourselves and listening to what we're thinking. And because when I say listen to what we're thinking, we constantly are having automatic thoughts running through our brain. And so I would just encourage you that whatever it is, just begin. If it's the eating thing, the healthy thing, just start. You don't have to have it figured out or perfect. I've helped women with a lot of weight loss in the past. I had a weight loss clinic, been a big into personal training, et cetera. And so I always tell people, don't think you have to do the whole thing at one time. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to know, but just begin. Whatever it is. If all you're doing is saying, I'm going to pull out the sodas for the next 2 weeks, then pull the sodas out. Or if you're thinking about real estate, then just begin. Start listening to a podcast like this. There's so many opportunities we have now to start, but I would really we're talking about, I'm writing a book and I'm almost done with it. It's at the editing, and it's a Devo book, and it's called 31 Days to Brave. And it's actual steps on moving and rising into bravery, because bravery is built one actionable step at a time. And, raising 4 kids, being bankrupt, living with an addict, there were a lot of brave steps I had to take to move my family to a different place. It didn't happen overnight. And it wasn't, people are like, what's the one thing? It was one actionable step at a time. And we can act our way out of a negative mindset, of anxiety, of depression, of a poor diet. We can act our way out of those things, but not moving and not doing is that gives us no growth opportunities.
Congratulations on your book. And I want to wish you the very, very best and much success for next coming year. How can people reach you? In case they follow and get in touch.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Kathy Smalley, and it's Kathy Rosenberry Smalley, and you can reach me on either one of those. And on my Instagram, it'll be pushing it over to launching a new website and things like that for the book and for some coaching.
Beautiful. So when you have that, send it to me. We can always add it at the end of your description and just edit it, and we'll update it. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's so awesome getting to know all the women that are just crushing and doing big things. I really am so excited. I think there's a rise of women that are just going to kill it in 2022. So I think it's awesome.
Thank you so much for being here. Can't wait to read your book.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.